The story begins by introducing 5 close friends: Guerrero, Combo, Tanko, Toro, and Polo, who are traveling together. While they appear relaxed, they are, in reality, members of Mexico's most elite Special Forces unit. Inside the vehicle, they engage in a lighthearted discussion about lunch. However, their journey takes a sudden turn when another car crashes into them, followed by a ruthless gun attack. The scene then shifts to 72 hours before the ambush. In a small cafe, Guerrero and his friend Tucho observe a group of gangsters carrying out criminal activity in front of a police station. These gangsters hold undeniable power in the area, daring to commit crimes in broad daylight, even under the watch of law enforcement. At that moment, they are attempting to abduct a young woman named Carla, who had come to report them to the authorities. Her mother, Lucia, desperately tries to stop them, but the two women are powerless against the ruthless criminals. Unable to stand by and watch, Guerrero, a seasoned officer, steps in. He confronts the gangsters head-on, engaging in a fierce fight. Soon after, several police officers rush out of the station, but instead of helping, they foolishly aim their weapons at Guerrero, who is holding the gang leader at gunpoint. Good intentions are often misunderstood, leading to unintended consequences. To avoid any further confusion, Guerrero reveals his badge, identifying himself as a captain in Mexico's elite forces. Recognizing his authority, one of the officers quickly orders his subordinates to arrest the gang members. As Guerrero prepares to leave, Lucia and Carla approach him, revealing that they had come to the station to report the discovery of a mass grave nearby. As a result, the military immediately steps in, deploying special forces and forensic experts to investigate the site. Given the severity of the case, relying on the local police, who have proven unreliable, is not an option. Upon arrival at the site, the investigation team uncovers the bodies of multiple soldiers, hastily buried in the area. However, the identity of those responsible for the massacre remains a mystery. In honor of the fallen soldiers, the military organizes a formal memorial service, allowing their families to pay their last respects. At the same time, the shocking discovery of the mass grave dominates the news, with every major television station in Mexico reporting on the tragic event. The media soon reveals that the soldiers were tortured and killed while attempting to capture a notorious drug lord named Josefo Urias. On the other hand, Josefo is in the middle of a meeting. Aware of the growing threat, he warns his associates about Guerrero, emphasizing that he is an elite soldier who should not be underestimated. At the same time, Josefo has already put a sinister plan into motion, ordering his men to abduct Lucia and Carla. Back at the military base, Guerrero gathers his team to strategize their next move in capturing Josefo. His trusted comrades, Combo, Tanko, Toro, and Polo, stand by his side, ready to execute the mission. According to the intelligence they have gathered, the primary suspect behind the murders is Lalo, one of Josefo's key enforcers. The team devises a plan: capture Lalo first and use him as bait to draw Josefo and his men out into the open. The next day, Guerrero and his team put their plan into action. It doesn't take long before they successfully capture Lalo while he is dining at a restaurant. Meanwhile, in an unexpected turn, Josefo is meeting with Mexico's Minister of Defense. Unexpectedly, the corrupt official is receiving a bribe from Josefo in exchange for ensuring the military does not come after him. At that moment, the minister informs Josefo that he has tapped Guerrero's phone and that Lalo has already been arrested, set to take the fall for the massacre. As a reward for capturing Lalo, Guerrero and his team are granted a 3-day leave. They take this opportunity to return home and reunite with their loved ones. Before parting ways, they take a group photo to commemorate their time together on the mission. However, their brief respite is abruptly interrupted by the ambush scene at the beginning of the film. It becomes clear that Josefo's men are behind the attack, determined to eliminate Guerrero. Yet, as elite soldiers, Guerrero and his team easily overpower their assailants. Suddenly, Romano arrives with reinforcements to continue the assault. However, Guerrero and his team's superior combat skills give them the upper hand, allowing them to wipe out Romano's forces. Severely wounded, Romano warns Guerrero that he and his team will not survive, as Joseph will stop at nothing to hunt them down. With Romano defeated, Guerrero and his team decide to leave before Joseph and his men arrive. While on the move, Guerrero contacts military headquarters, requesting reinforcements and informing them that Joseph and his gang are after them. Shortly after they leave, Joseph and his men arrive at the scene, finding Romano's lifeless body. Enraged and devastated, having considered Romano like a brother, Joseph vows revenge. He orders his men to track down Guerrero, whose location has already been compromised due to the Minister of Defense tapping his phone. Meanwhile, Guerrero and his team navigate through a dense forest, heading toward a security outpost. Unfortunately, Joseph's men have already tracked their movements, forcing them into another gunfight. Though they manage to eliminate the enemy forces, Polo and Tanko sustain serious injuries. Polo is shot in the left shoulder, while Tanko suffers severe wounds to his ear and leg. Acting quickly, Combo administers first aid to both of them. Elsewhere, one of Joseph's men manages to survive and reports back to him about the encounter. Joseph, however, remains unfazed. He is confident that, no matter how much Guerrero and his team try to escape and hide, they will never be able to outrun him. Thanks to the Minister of Defense's betrayal, Joseph will always know their whereabouts. Without wasting any more time, Joseph and his men immediately set out for the location where Guerrero was supposed to be. However, upon arrival, Joseph found neither Guerrero nor his team. Instead, they discovered Guerrero's phone placed atop the lifeless bodies of 5 of Joseph's men. Realizing he had been deceived, Joseph clenched his fists in frustration. Guerrero and his team had anticipated the surveillance and turned the tables on them. Elsewhere, Polo and Tanko, both wounded, decided to take a brief rest. Combo examined their gunshot wounds, which were worsening by the minute. At the same time, Guerrero, who had taken Romano's phone, was visibly shocked when he stumbled upon a video revealing that the Minister of Defense had been secretly colluding with Joseph all along. Aware that their current situation was far from favorable, Guerrero and his team decided to hasten their journey toward the security post to request reinforcements. During their trek, they came across a house that appeared to serve as a criminal hideout. At that moment, Combo suggested they raid the place, as they were in dire need of a safe spot to rest, especially since Polo and Tanko required urgent medical attention. Without hesitation, they stormed the house, swiftly neutralizing the criminals inside. However, they were caught off guard when they discovered 2 hostages held captive within a house. To their astonishment, the captives were none other than Lucia and Carla, a mother and daughter who had previously been kidnapped by Joseph's men. Seeing their distressing condition, Guerrero and his team quickly reassured them, promising that they were now safe. In addition, the team uncovered a cache of weapons, ammunition, and explosives hidden in the house. Now responsible for the safety of 2 civilians, they understood that every step forward had to be taken with extreme caution. Despite the heavy burden and the life-threatening dangers they faced, surrender was never an option for them as soldiers. They were prepared to fight with everything they had to complete their mission. That night, Guerrero sat down with Lucia and Carla, explaining the grim reality. They were being hunted by Joseph and his men. With that in mind, he proposed that they leave immediately and head toward the security post for assistance. Before setting out, they equipped Lucia and Carla with bulletproof vests and arranged a protective formation, ensuring the 2 civilians would be safely positioned in the middle of their group. Once their preparations were complete, they prepared to leave the house. However, just as they stepped outside, they were ambushed by Joseph and his forces in a sudden and ruthless attack. Outnumbered and overwhelmed, Guerrero and his team found themselves in a dire situation, unable to do much except take cover inside the house and fight back with their remaining ammunition. Meanwhile, Lucia and Carla, unable to bear watching the soldiers struggle, offered to help in the battle against the gangsters. Moved by their bravery, Guerrero decided to teach them how to handle firearms. At the same time, Combo asked Tanko to take over his watch duty while he tended to Polo's wounds. Outside, Josepho and his men relentlessly fired at the house, forcing Guerrero and his team to seek cover. Seizing an opportunity when Josepho's men paused to reload, Guerrero and his team launched a counterattack. Unexpectedly, one of Guerrero's shots hit one of Josepho's men, injuring him. When the gunfire subsided, Guerrero quickly checked on his team's condition. His call was met with responses from all team members, but unfortunately, Tanko was in critical condition after being shot by Josepho. Unable to move, he desperately called out for more ammunition. Since Guerrero and the others needed to hold their positions, Carla volunteered to deliver the ammunition to Tanko. At the same time, several of Josepho's men secretly infiltrated the house through an underground passage, unbeknownst to Guerrero and his team. Moments later, the intruders ambushed Tanko and Carla, catching them off guard. To protect his comrades, Tanko ordered Carla to flee. Determined to prevent further danger to his team, Tanko made the ultimate sacrifice, detonating a bomb to eliminate the enemy. Tragically, Guerrero not only lost Tanko but also Polo, who was fatally shot by Josepho. With Polo having lost too much blood, there was no way to save him. The grief weighed heavily on Guerrero and his remaining comrades. Not only that, Lucia and Carla also mourned the loss of the brave soldiers who had risked everything to protect them. Together, they prayed for the fallen warriors, hoping their souls would find peace. Meanwhile, left with no options, Josepho was forced to surrender and lowered his weapon. However, instead of begging for mercy, he challenged Guerrero to a one-on-one fight, man-to-man. As a soldier bound by honor, Guerrero could not harm an unarmed enemy. Thus, he accepted Josepho's challenge to a bare-knuckle duel. At first, Guerrero struggled against Josepho, who was a skilled martial artist. But as he recalled the sacrifices of his fallen brothers in arms, his fighting spirit reignited. Fueled by determination, he launched a relentless assault, overpowering Josepho. After defeating Josepho, Guerrero turned to his team and declared that it was finally over. His unwavering patriotism and resilience were evident in the blood and sacrifice that marked his journey. By the following morning, after a grueling battle filled with loss and hardship, reinforcements finally arrived to secure the area. A gravely injured Josepho was immediately arrested and prepared for trial. It was revealed that Guerrero had intentionally spared him, ensuring that he would serve as a witness in court to expose the corrupt officials who had conspired with him, including the treacherous Minister of Defense. Later, Guerrero, Combo, Toro, Lucia, and Carla were airlifted home by helicopter. Though they returned with heavy hearts, mourning the loss of their dear friends, the memories of Polo and Tanko would forever remain in their hearts. And with that, the story came to an end. Moral lesson from the story: if you see gangsters kidnapping someone at a police station, maybe just call the cops. Oh wait, they're already there and useless. And if the police won't help, just become a one-man army. But maybe stretch first.